What is up, everybody? This is Press X to Start Gamers Digest, and this is sort of an impromptu thing in the midst of the debacle that is Overwatch 2 basically kind of making itself not have a reason to exist. But before we go into that, I am your heavyweight champion from Wishnigwood, California, aka the janitor because we watch niggas, aka Timothy Chalamet, Marcus Ellison Jr. And I'm with.
I am Avery, aka Xbox's biggest #1 hater, apparently.
You do hate it. You do hate it quite a bit.
I don't hate it so much as I'm just ambivalent.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, we're just really here to kind of chat about the situation. I unfortunately will not be able to be on the regular podcast episode, so we decided to bring me here since I'm probably at this point the main person on the podcast that plays Overwatch, and will probably be the only one maybe that still plays Overwatch after this because I know where my bread is buttered. But yeah, for those of you that don't know, Overwatch or Blizzard recently announced that they have completely canceled all plans for the PvE, which when they announced Overwatch 2, they had this elaborate plan mapped out for Overwatch 2 to feature a elaborate PvE mode with skill trees and sort of like an not really an open world, but a how would you describe it, Avery?
From what I remember, off the top of my head, they announced that it would have like its story campaign where you'd have story missions, then you would have sort of like hero missions, which are going to be replayable, score-based missions that sort of like what we already have in the game, but more well thought. What the PvE that we have in the game as it is, but more well thought out and with stronger co-op and the core ability, which is the big thing, was to have every character have a skill tree and talent trees, and have every character be truly like flexible in multiple different directions.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when they dropped the kind of elaborate kind of dev video and they were kind of going through clips of the PvE mode and showing us examples of the skill trees, and they were so elaborate that it gave you pause, especially given the state of AAA gaming that we're in right now. But it was still really promising, especially because they had essentially abandoned Overwatch 1 for like what, 2 years?
3.5 years. That's the big thing where that is the big crux of a lot of my frustration with this entire situation. Like Marcus, I was a big Overwatch player. Like, I think if you go back in the archives of this podcast, if they exist, there'll be moments where like I was straight up playing Overwatch by myself, and I mentioned it on the podcast once, and then like both Cam and DJ, who I think were on the podcast at the time, were like, "Oh yeah, I totally played this game." I guess, and then we became an Overwatch podcast for a short amount of time, and then I did,
Yeah.
and then I had my emotional breakdown, and I came back, and no one was playing Overwatch, and specifically, I stopped playing Overwatch because they stopped updating it. Like, we got Echo,
and then that was it.
Radio silence. Like, yeah. And like I absorbed Overwatch because of the Overwatch League at the time, and it's like, imagine watching an esport. I'm not gonna associate because a lot of esports are like this, but like it's like an esport in which, the same meta over and over and over and over and over again, and any new content that they released wasn't for the base game. It was like, hey everyone, we made a new deathmatch map. I mean, Overwatch is not a deathmatch game, so like that's completely, no one wants this. And then we got that BlizzCon. This is one thing I want to bring up about this, because I think what shot them in the foot was that we had that big time where we heard nothing, and then Blizzard went through a lot of turmoil in a short amount of time. There was the whole Blitzchung Hong Kong thing that popped off. Then there's the entire Activision Blizzard like sexual harassment and like mistreatment of its employees situation that popped off.
Dumpster fire.
And like then there was a whole Diablo Immortal situation. So like Blizzard needed wins, and like the easiest win they could have was, all right, let's unveil Overwatch 2. We're working on it, and this is why we slowed down. But let's unveil it and show people, hey, this is why we've slowed down. And
Yeah.
I was incredibly hyped because as much as I love playing the multiplayer of Overwatch and will consistently still play it if I had a team of buddies playing with me, is I love the characters, I love the world, I love the bits of narrative that they've been able to weave in and out. I love the cinematics, I love everything about the construction of this game, and to give a single player experience to it, I was incredibly hyped for it.
Hmm. Yeah, I was right there with you in terms of like I remember when the first trailer for Overwatch, OG Overwatch came out and it looked like a Pixar movie and I was so fascinated with it and then I found out it was a PvP hero shooter and I was greatly disappointed. And some might not know because like I've been such a long standing Overwatch player since the pandemic at the very least. But I didn't get Overwatch until it was available for like free during that period of time. So I didn't start playing Overwatch right out the gate. And I was so disappointed with finding out it was a hero shooter that I swore off it because I was very vehemently not into FPS.
That was Marcus in his I don't like FPS, specifically first person games era.
Yeah. And so once I got into it, I was still mostly getting into it because like I did find the world interesting and I found the characters very colorful and enjoyable. And so the prospect or the idea of there being a PvE was very appealing to me. And now in the midst of everything, it really feels very egregious that this was a smokescreen. Like they were catching so much heat from all corners, and so they were like, "Hey guys, Overwatch 2, we've got PvE. We've been listening to you guys. We heard what you've been asking for." And like it'd be bad if they weren't going through the shitstorm that they were going through. But the fact that they were, and then they fumbled the ball this hard, like I even with Diablo 4, I'm not entirely sure how they rebound from this.
Okay, yeah, a lot. It's yeah, I'm pissed.
Mm-hmm. Should be.
Like, and I want to point out that I'm not necessarily angry at the developers themselves. I understand it's a hardworking thing, and like from what I've read and heard from their experiences, they're like they've had it's not been easy. That being said, at some point, someone needed to realize maybe this isn't the best idea. What we're doing. So,
Yep.
so let me clarify. PvE is as we know it, which was a ongoing story campaign. What Overwatch 2 like one. Let's talk about the smoke screen of Overwatch 2 isn't Overwatch 2. It is Overwatch essentially 1.1.
It's Overwatch TOO instead of the number
Yeah,
2.
yeah, and it's like yeah. Because like it's the only big shift in the game. It has been getting rid of a player, cutting out content because they had to get rid of an entire mode and the maps associated with that mode, and then they reworked some characters, but like
That's about it.
that's about it. I play Valorant, and they didn't need to make a Valorant 2 to redo Yoru.
No, like essentially, they just made the game worse, and then didn't fulfill on the promise they made. So like there was a whole period of our podcast where loot boxes was a point of contention. But for my money, the way that Overwatch 1 was perfect. Like everybody had an even playing field. If a character got released, everybody had access to it. Like there was no unbalancing in that regard. Now with this battle pass way of doing things, and their battle pass isn't even good. That's another bad thing about it. Like the battle pass isn't great. The system, if you're not playing every waking moment, you're not gonna unlock certain things. You either got to spend the money or you got to play every waking moment to grind.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, I think I saw something on the internet where someone said, "Hey, if you did every weekly challenge and you did every monthly challenge and you did every part of the battle pass, as of today, you will now have enough gold saved to buy one legendary skin." Like,
Yep.
that's my thing. I'm not going to belabor loot boxes as a system and all of that. I not necessarily a fan, but
Mm,
I very much have understanding of them and their implication in gaming. And
for sure.
certain games do it better. I think the original Overwatch had a pretty good loot box system in that, like, man, I think I spent over $500 on Overwatch when I was consistently playing it
Mm.
because of the loot box system, and I had every skin I wanted. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't a thing where I'm like, oh, I'm gambling for this diva skin. Nah, man, I was just like, I had $20, buy 20 loot boxes. Oh, I didn't get diva skin. Cool. I earned enough credits that I could just buy the diva skin I wanted anyway. It was like,
exactly. Yeah, like when I logged like 300 plus hours into Overwatch during lockdown, by the end of that period of time, I had so many loot boxes that I was gonna have whatever skin I wanted. If I opened every loot box that I had because I didn't before the switch over to Overwatch 2, so I just had a bunch of credits and a bunch of skins offloaded onto me with Overwatch 2, but I would have had it, and it was fine the way it was.
yeah. And as someone who plays Valorant, where every skin in the game is like $50, I
Oof.
this I the current sort of monetary system with the battle pass is not it. I think one of the big issues I have with the battle pass is that beyond it whole locking away content with actual characters, and then as far as I can tell, they haven't been clear if I didn't get Kiriko and Ramatra during those 2 seasons that they're out, is it clear how I can unlock those characters now?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Like I legitimately do not know.
And then couple that with, okay, you've committed, instead of having a new character every season, so every 3 months, you're like, we're gonna have a new character every other month. Okay, so every other month, your battle pass is just gonna be useless in
Yeah,
regards to why you put characters in there to begin with.
yeah. It's like there's always they've put themselves into a corner where there will always be basically a filler battle pass month. It's like no amount of look at these skins guys or look at this Cupid event or whatever is going to make up for the fact that you shit the bed with this. And it really is a shame because like I remember when Overwatch won like game of the year, didn't it? Like
Yeah, it was game of the year that year it came out.
yeah, and it had so much promise and so much heat behind it, and they have really fallen from grace. And I say that as someone who still loves the game. Like I've got my issues with it, but like
Oh,
that
dude,
is yeah, that's my hero shooter.
yeah, one of my big frustrations is that, like, yeah, I legitimately love Overwatch. It got me into an entire genre of games that I just was never into. Because, like, I was
Hmm.
never the first person, I was never the multiplayer guy. Then I
Hmm.
became an Overwatch fan, and then suddenly I'm like, all right, I'm playing Valorant. All right, now I'm playing Apex Legends. All right, now I'm playing, I'm playing these games that are, like, just not outside my wheelhouse, and a lot of it is from Overwatch. And my thing with Overwatch 2 was when it came out, I looked at it, played it for like a week, and like, this is just Overwatch, aka a game that I personally don't have fun playing by myself. I'm like, cool, call me back when Overwatch 2 actually drops. And now we're at a place where Overwatch 2 no longer exists, and I'm like, I have no reason really to go back and play Overwatch because, as far as I can tell, and I've been relatively paying attention to its development over the last couple months as it's gotten into this free to play space, it hasn't really shown me anything that to really grab me in.
Yeah.
Especially now with the fact that, as someone who doesn't play Overwatch a lot, I still have to grind now to play new characters and get into new content.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, and I mean, I guess this is just the nature of hero shooters, especially competitive hero shooters. But the meta is always changing anyway. So like characters that were like like vital parts of a team makeup will be obsolete like by the next battle pass, and
Yeah, which is one
it
reason I hate these type. One reason I love Overwatch is it solved this issue by just giving everyone everything. But one of my big
mhm.
issues with these hero games is that like at a certain point there are going to be more characters added to the game than were originally in the game, and then you have a big issue with when the meta shifts. So all the newer characters are better than all the older characters. So someone jumping into the game is just like, cool, here are these shiny new characters. No one's playing them, and I'm at a disadvantage because other characters are better. Like here's an Apex anecdote. There was a period of time, yeah, the meta at a certain period of time was Seer, Valkyrie, Catalyst. Those are all three characters that aren't in the base game. So if you load up Apex Legends and try to play it at a high level, I'm just gonna say at a high level, you're gonna be running into teams abusing the how strong the later characters are, and you're at a sheer disadvantage. It's
Yeah,
like it's one of those things that like I really dislike about those systems, and I just had to like fucking move on with it. But it's like it's really frustrating to like be like I either have to spend all my time playing Overwatch to get a chance to play these new characters, or I spend $14 so I can get them unlocked on the battle pass,
hmm,
and then have no real motivation because I don't really give a shit about the. Because another issue with battle passes, especially with character based battle passes, is that it doesn't matter how many cool skins you put in there. If I don't give a shit about X character and you put like that character or thing as like the higher tier rewards, I'm not gonna grind to it. Like
yeah,
the first battle pass that came out for this season, I got to the Soldier 76 emote because I like playing Soldier, and I think the Diva skin, and I just stopped playing because I'm like, I don't.
yeah. Like if you don't have enough incentive to grind all that way, your battle pass has failed. And now on top of that, like their replacement for the fact that the PvE isn't coming out is them saying
We're
that
talking about
we've got,
Star Watch.
well, not Starwatch isn't the replacement, but Starwatch being like the first, as far as I know at least, the first PvE event in Overwatch 2, and it just feels like something that would have been in Overwatch 1 in the archive system.
Well, that's something that's like I find incredibly disingenuous about this entire situation. Star Watch is their first attempt at retooling the PVE stuff that they were working on and shunting it into Overwatch 2 as a client. Like the thing is, they had made this decision months ago, and we're only hearing about it now because like they told us when this game launched that hey, this is the one you'd probably be seeing the PVE content, and like I'm gonna bail them out here because like I'm disappointed and angry about this yada yada yada, but I want to give the developers the benefit of the doubt in regards to like the shit they had to go through. Uh, yeah, the shit they had to go through because like okay, you have to build an entire new campaign where you can't use the game's maps because the game's maps were designed for PvP, so they have to actually be multiplayer maps, which require a tremendous amount of design to make them better than just all right, we make Kings Row just a little bit longer, so it
Yep.
makes sense that you're running through this, and it's not just a straight corridor. We have to build a brand new AI for all of our enemy types, so there aren't just normal robot with okay proportions that just shoots you. We need to
Right.
design four, three, three verticals of talent trees for every character. At this point, we're at character 30, so like
Yep.
over 1,000 new talents they have to build, and then so like there's a lot that they had to do. But
Right.
my man, that was my that's me bailing them hell. But my man, you had 3.5 years when you're
Exactly.
working on this.
Exactly. Like if it wasn't, if they had been consistently supporting in a meaningful way Overwatch 1, and then they announced Overwatch 2 and they still haven't fulfilled the promise, it'd be frustrating, but it'd be like, okay, well, at least I could see that you guys were like balancing your efforts. But you just left Overwatch 1 in the dust, spent all this time, announced Overwatch 2, and then somehow still weren't able to fulfill what you said you were going to do? Nah. But I will say, because I'm sure that there are people who don't know what Star Watch is. Star Watch was the most recent battle pass was themed after kind of like this Star Wars esque galactic warfare theme. And Star Watch is a PV. It's not fully a PVE event. It's like a PvP slash PVE
It's kind
event.
of
It's
like
weird.
it's this is weird because then I have to explain what Gambit is from Destiny. It kind of reminds me of Gambit from Destiny, where it's like, okay, we have two PvP teams, but there's
Yeah.
also a PvE element that you're interacting with.
Right.
That's essentially what Star Watch is. I didn't play it. I just know about it from the context of paying attention to it from like just my general osmosis in Overwatch. So I can't give you the nitty gritties of it.
Basically, you're capturing 4 points while holding off the opposing PvP, which is a just a group of bots team, and also the PvE, like because it's a bunch of Torbjorn turrets essentially.
Oh, this is just it's a less thought out Gambit from Destiny then. Because that's what
Yeah,
Gambit is that okay, you have two sections of the map where both teams are independent from each other. Both of those areas of the map are being flooded with enemies. But Destiny is also a game that actually has competent enemy AI. So what because of the way they built that game, so it was easier to make for them to make Gambit. And then every once in a while, you can flip the map and send people from one side to the other to attack and disrupt what the other people are doing. And that's what Gambit is. And I think that sounds a lot like
yeah. With Star Watch, I think the way they disrupted the momentum or the or disoriented people was shut at times. But yeah, I mean, it was fine, but it definitely, in the midst of everything, felt kind of underwhelming. And then now that we know that they're going to be continuing to try to do PvE like events or things, and they're going to try to implement the story stuff, but it all feels too little too late. I know we're getting another support hero soon, but once again, because of their busted battle pass system, what's the point? And it's just, it's sad.
yeah,
It's really sad.
yeah. And like what is the saddest thing is like Overwatch is not a mid game.
No.
But in the grand scheme of live service games out there that exist that thrive, it is a mid game that no one's talking about. The Overwatch League is probably the laughing stock of esports based on its very public failures.
Yeah, it's in
Uh,
shambles.
the game itself is incredibly unpopular as a content creation tool, which is one of the reasons why people were super excited for the PvE aspect because there was
Hmm.
so much they could have probably done with that they can't do anymore.
Like
Uh,
as far as I know, Overwatch content does better on YouTube than on Twitch, but even then, it's still not as it's not nearly as popular as it used to be. Like if you try to on the ground floor gain maybe some content creator clout as a YouTuber, Overwatch ain't the way to go. Like the only way that you're gonna, I think, gain eyes at this point as with Overwatch content is if you're like one of the established people like
if you
Flats or J3 or SK or something like that.
or super.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's pretty much it.
yeah. In regards to, I'm at the Twitch directory, which Twitch is a pretty good directory of like what is the most popular games to watch. It is not even in the top 20.
Yeesh.
I think it's hovering somewhere under 15K, which is good.
Right. But
But like,
wow.
here's the top 10. Here's the
Dang.
top 10 games. Number one game to watch right now is League of Legends. I'm pretty sure. Then it's Minecraft. Then it's GTA. Then it's Valorant. Then it's Rust. Then it's WoW. Then it's Modern Warfare, which is surprising because Modern Warfare is usually never in the Call of Duty is never usually in the top
Mm.
15. Then
Maybe
it's
because of
Fortnite.
DMZ mode.
Maybe. or it could be the Call of Duty League. I don't know. I'd have to look into it, and I don't want to litigate that right now. Then Apex Legends, then Counter Strike, and then right now Tears of the Kingdom. Like that, those are like the big games popping off, and like
Wow.
it's really bad. And like to my point, it's like it's shot itself in the foot here in that I don't think it can do anything really to create a groundswell of like interest to bring a new audience in.
No.
That was the magic of what PvE would have been, is that people would have played that game. If they made a good PvE game, people would have
Hmm.
played it and then realized, oh wow, there's a PvP section to this game.
Yep.
It's free to play. I'm gonna hop into it, and all my PVE shit, like in terms of skins and content from there, not like all the skill trees and things like that, transfer over to there, and now I'm in the Overwatch ecosystem, and I can grow from there. Now we just have
Yep.
an ecosystem where am I playing Overwatch? Cool. Am I tired of Overwatch? Yeah. I'm bouncing. So it's like I feel like we're
Yep.
very much in a trickle down situation where we're never going to see a big we're not going to see big organic growth from Overwatch right now.
Yeah. I mean, they've essentially, like you said, they've essentially gated off new viewers or new interest, and kind of right now they're hemorrhaging OG fans. Like I said earlier, I'ma still play because that's my hero shooter of choice, because I'm actually at least decent at it. Whereas like Apex, I'm cheeks. Like, but it's sad to see the ecosystem that was once really thriving, and it had its bumps and bruises. Every competitive scene has like toxic elements to it, and there's a lot of like throwers, and it's got your issues.
Yeah.
But it used to be like so fun to be a part of the Overwatch ecosystem, and right now it's sad, and I'm not sure, even outside of bringing in new eyes, which seems impossible at this point. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to like build themselves back up, because right now it doesn't seem like they have a chance.
I don't necessarily think that. Well, okay. They could have a viral moment of, oh, the game is free to play and we release some content that everyone's talking about and we can bring people here. I doubt we're gonna get that. I think we're very much on a business as usual situation, and right now it's being sustained essentially by the current user base being willing to fund it.
Yeah.
Which,
Like it'll ultimately be fine, but it'll never be what it was. And the highs were so high.
dude,
Like,
they had Overwatch League players on the Tonight Show. That's how high it was.
right.
Like, it's frustrating, and like, it's really what's really frustrating. I if I was Microsoft and I was currently in the process of buying Activision Blizzard, one of the biggest wins that could have happened is like, okay, you guys have stopped making this PvE mode. Start working on it again. We're giving you carte blanche, and if we need to funnel more, we spent $69 billion. We clearly have money to burn. So, like, the biggest W you get is that, like, Overwatch 2, we're actually going to finish it. Because, like, that's one of the most frustrating things is that, like, if you're an OG Overwatch fan, one of the first pieces of content they released was that the Widowmaker and Reaper trying to steal the Doomfist, and Tracer and Winston discovering it. That was the first bit of trailer that they had. Then one of the second trailers they had, then the next 3 or 4 trailers were all characters in that one time frame period, sort of reacting around those events. Beginning specifically with the Recall trailer, which is Winston calling out to every old Overwatch member that, hey, let's get back together. Then we had 2-3 years of Overwatch where there was actually no forward progression on what that actually was.
Nope.
Then we finally get the Overwatch 2 trailer, and okay, guys, we've got back together. Overwatch is finally back. And now we're in a period of that story that you've been slowly writing. Where is it going to go now?
Yeah, because even then, like, it just that falls in line with my issue with injecting story into PvP games in the first place, because ultimately it just comes down to push this cart and kill each other. And it's like, okay, if we're not doing anything with the story, like as much as I love the short films that they do and all that, I'm just like, make a TV show. If like at this point, just do something else.
Yeah, well, that was fundamentally going to be the beauty with the single player mode, the PvE,
Right.
that you could have an actual concrete story. And like, it's not that you can't do story in games like this, because more often than not, most of the player base is going to ignore it. But it just has to be something like both Valorant and Apex Legends have ongoing narratives.
Mm.
Like, if you look at Apex Season 1 and then look at season, we're at 17 right now, like, there is a forward progression in how that narrative goes and characters change and evolve and, like, develop relationships and fall out of relationships and things like that. Same with Valorant, where, like, okay, you watch those first couple trailers, if you pay attention to like the individual world of Valorant, all the social stuff, there's an ongoing narrative of shit that's going on with it. Like it really can't affect the game itself because of the way those type of experiences are, but that shit is there and it helps really build the relationships we have with these characters.
Which I respect. I just think because of and you've known me for a long time, so I'm definitely someone that I wish if that stuff is there, I wish it could impact the gameplay element of it because I'm such a story based gamer. Um, but yeah, man, like I don't know, Overwatch going out sad, and it breaks my heart.
It does. It fundamentally, it's this was the most one. This is one of the most heartbreaking things in gaming in recent news. That was just
Truly,
like oh man, like because I had such high hopes. What's insane is there's playable content of this PVE mode. We've seen it. We know it exists. It looks
yes,
fucking rad.
it
I
does. It looks
and
so
like
good.
and like the idea that we're not going to get that, or if we do get it, it's going to be a slow 3 month at a time drip feed as they like.
Yeah,
It's just like
it's disheartening.
yeah.
It really is. But I mean, that's all we can really go in on it. It's nice to vent, but all we got to do at this point, all we can do at this point, is wait and see what Blizzard decides to do with it.
Yeah.
Despite all the shit I'm talking, I am curious to see what this first PVE story campaign thing that they do is. Um, I'm curious to see who this new support hero is. Um,
My big fear, before you finish that thought,
mm,
is with the way its current seasonal system is that like whatever PVE shit put in the game is an evergreen. It's a oh if you weren't here for the season, it's just gone.
yeah, which is a concern of mine as well. But they just it's not gatekeeping, but like it's just so they used to be it used to be so giving. It used to be so easy for there wasn't this scalable wall in terms of barrier of entry for this game. And now here we are and you legit can't come into this game new and expect to enjoy it in the way that other people can. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about skill. I'm just literally talking about
That
access.
and to that point is like because this issue is an issue with like other games like League of Legends and things like that. Like if I asked people to go in and start playing a game of League now, it's like there's like 150 characters. Like it's
Oof.
so much to learn. But like League is also a super popular game, so like it just like breeds. It just draws in new players by virtue of like how big it is. It's like the blob. And so like I don't necessarily think Overwatch in its current state is going to have that. We're constantly bringing in new players that aren't just like
And to actually League's credit as well, League has Arcane. So like it's not even just like I don't give a shit about League of Legends, but Arcane is one of the greatest shows to come out in the last decade. And so
I will
I could
argue. I will argue to the cows go home that Arcane is the best video game adaptation story, point blank period, in media right now.
I agree with that. And it's one of those things where I could see how Arcane is supplemental marketing. Overwatch doesn't have that. Overwatch could have that, but they don't have that. So not only do they not have the PvE, but they don't have anything else to bring people in. And then they're hemorrhaging users. It's a damn shame. But with that, thank you for listening to us vent and rant. And before we let you go, don't forget to support us by liking the video, subscribe to the channel, and hitting the notification bell if you're not listening to this, you're watching this. But if you could, if you listen to the audio podcast, leave us a review on any of the podcast services that you tune in on. And if you would like to join in on our conversations, you can join our Discord at pressx2start.com/Discord. All right. This has been Press X, and we're signing out. Peace.
Goodbye, everyone. Enjoy Overwatch. It's still a fucking fantastic game. It's just, unfortunately, not the greatest live service type of game that's out right now.
Damn shame.